Hey, welcome to the Swish 21 basketball event sponsored by Hudl. I'd like to express my warm regards and a thank you to you two attending and to Hudl for sponsoring this event, for having me as a speaker. I use Hudl in coaching probably every day, and some days for several hours every day. At Sierra Canyon, Hudl is our primary platform for game film, for practice film, for scout film. And so I spend a lot of time uh, addressing the needs, curating the files, for example, making sure that we have video appropriately tagged, making sure that the reports are running well. I'd like to share with you a few tips and tricks that I have for operating Hudl at the highest level, and I think you'll get a little bit out of the ability to get game clips relevant to you and your players for scouting the opposite, for scouting, excuse me. Um, I'm going to be able to teach you a couple of tips and tricks about how to scout your opponent using the Hudl, assist, and tagging features. First of all, let me say it's super important to get game film. Today, we're going to talk about a scout that we did for our last playoff. It was a state playoff game against a local high school, Birmingham High School. You can see from my screenshot, we had six scouts of Birmingham, games that they had played against opponents. And we had game film on it that we had tagged through Hudl Assist. And what this gives us is the ability to analyze a large volume of plays and players that Birmingham has used in relevant game situations. This gives us a competitive advantage in scouting. So the first thing I'm going to say is you need to have friends at other programs. It's important to be able to get this game film. For us to have this game film, we have to have relationships with opponents so that we can get access to the game film. Really, not that many people want to share game film with Sierra Canyon, honestly, right? Because it's a big competitive advantage that we have. But we're very friendly with a lot of the coaches, and we share a lot of game film of opponent as well. And so they feel, and we feel like it's both in our common interest to share game film. Our ability to have those relationships that we've leveraged into 6 game films for Birmingham that will give us statistics that are vital for our scouting report. Last year, they played, I believe, 15 games, and we had tape on 6 of them. That's pretty common for a season. We might have 10, 12, 14 scouts for an opponent by the time we get to a CIF playoff game, by the time we get to a state playoff game. And so it's important to have those relationships so you can have a large number of statistical observances of your opponent, because then when you dive into the stats, you're going to have a relevant sample size. You're going to have the ability to abstract from the statistics into what you think is going to happen into your game. What am I even talking about? Let's move on. This is the stats report that comes out of tagging all of your games. And we can see, generally speaking, Birmingham, we have our 6 games against them, and we have some basic statistics about those games. If we take a look at some key categories, I think you'll agree there's some interesting observations to be made. First, we're going to look at the shooting. We're going to look at the 2-point percentages, the 3-point percentages, and their free throw percentages. And I would say this is a decent but not particularly good shooting team. They make about 50% of their shots from 2. They make less than a third of their shots, less than even 30% of their shots from 3. And they make about 70% of their free throws. So the 50% and the 70% are about average, but the 28.8% is definitely below. So probably not maybe the greatest shooting team ever. Let's take a look though at rebounding. Uh, I like to look at the percentages here. So they get 45% of offensive rebounds and 61% of defensive rebounds. If we add those up together, we will see that they get over 100% of the rebounds for the offensive and the defensive ends out of 200. That means that they're getting more than their share of rebounds. How much more than their share? Well, it's going to be about 7% more, 7.5% more than their share. And that's a pretty good statistic. That tells me that they're actually a good rebounding team. Um, Now we're going to come down and we're going to look to turnovers and assists. And we can see that it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. And that tells me that they're not particularly effective at sharing the ball. 11 turnovers, I'd say that's probably a fairly average number, and 11 assists, that's probably a fairly average number. So I don't see that they have particularly good, maybe guard play that would cause them to have more assists or fewer turnovers than that 1-to-1 ratio. Another key stat I like to look at, this is going to be more of a derived stat. I want to know how fast the opposing team plays. So I'm going to take a look at their possessions per game. And the way that we do that is they have points per possession and we have points per game. And so we're able to go and divide 73.2 by 1.11, and we end up with about 66 possessions a game. And 66 possessions a game tells me that they play at a pretty decent pace. Sierra Canyon wants to play at a much higher number. We want to play at maybe 80, 85, 90 possessions a game. If we could get away with it, would be awesome. But for us to be at about 75 possessions in reality, that tells you that 66, yeah, they play quite a bit slower than us, but that's still a pretty decent pace of play. And then I would look to support that by their transition points here. And they have 19.3 transition points. We average about 24 transition points a game this past year. And we're really looking to get maybe 30 transition points a game. So they like to get out and go, but maybe not quite so much as we like to get out and go. And then the last thing I would take a look at is their charges. And we can see that they really, in 6 games, it looks like they've taken 2 charges. So they really don't like to take charges very much. And to me, that tells me that maybe they have shot blockers at the rim, but nobody's willing to like stand in and take a charge to get the possession to go the other way. Now we can take a look and see, once we understand the team perspective of how fast does Birmingham play, let's talk about who do they try to get the ball to. So we can run this report and we can run it by athlete now. And I can take a look and see who is, and this is sorted by games played. And so we can see 2, 3, 4. There are 4 guys who've played 6 games and 3 guys who've played 5 games. So they're probably the guys who we're thinking are gonna play a little bit. But let's come down to the points for and points per game. So it's pretty clear that David Elliott is their guy, right? 25.5 points per game. That's a guy who is going to score, and we can see that he shoots a pretty high. He is in fact a very fine shooter at 83% from the line, and this is out of a big sample size, 6.8 over 6 games. That's quite a few. About 40, maybe 41 attempts that we've counted, flagged, tagged for him. And he's made quite a few at a very high clip. We can see that he is shooting over 9 threes a game, and that's quite a prolific total here, making 30% of them. So that's probably why that 3-point percentage is a little bit lower, because he's shooting a lot of threes and not really making a whole lot of them. I mean, 30% I would say is probably pretty average for a high school player to be shooting at a 3-point clip. And we can see that just of overall attempts, right, he's about the same as the next two guys combined. And so we can see, hey, Chris Cook here, he shoots the next most field goals, and it's mostly twos that Chris Cook is shooting, it would appear. If we come down here again to the points per game, we can see, yes, in fact, Chris Cook, and he is a good free throw shooter as well, by the way. He's averaging 13 points a game, and then James Nobles is averaging 11 points a game. And then, as we would expect, the people who have played in the most games are generally the people who have the most points. Let's take a look at the rebounding statistics for the individuals. If we come down here, we can see Larry, 9 rebounds, Chris Cook, 8 rebounds, James Nobles, 7 rebounds, and so on here. So we can see who the rebounders are here for them. If we take a look at the assists and the turnovers, well, David Elliott has the ball in his hands really quite a bit, so he does get a lot of assists as a result, and he also probably turns the ball over a lot as a result as well of that. And really, he's the key guy, right? James Nobles, he has a couple of assists. Chris Cook, he has a couple of assists. We know that Chris Cook is their number two scorer. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at Chris Cook specifically, and let's see, what are we going to be able to do, with Chris Cook here in terms of putting together some type of a scouting video here. Okay. Well, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take a look at Chris Cook's field goal attempts. And here I can go and take a look at his attempts. I can take a look at his makes. Let's take a look at his makes first. And if I just click on that, it automatically takes me to the Hudl montage of all of his clips. All right, now he's on the left-hand side there, and I want to run that back actually, because he's on the left-hand side here, and he elects to finish here with his right hand. I would argue he probably should be dribbling the ball with his left hand and trying to finish with his left hand here. So that's kind of interesting, but it's a nice little move there that he makes. Okay, right hand, and nice basket attack, takes advantage of a little bit smaller and a little bit less athletic defender there. Offensive rebound and put back. In transition, nice move. The real power of the Hudl 3-pointer there. The real power of the Hudl assist is being able to get large numbers of observations, of data points. Nice little mid-range turnaround. He looked very comfortable there with that. That's a nice spin back and finish there again in the mid-range. Looks very comfortable, about 12 feet away. Just stays active on the glass. Gets his own miss, gathers and finishes. Again, that mid-range, he just looks very comfortable with that. One of the points that I made in my scout to the team was that he's very comfortable shooting that 15 footer, that mid-range in the paint. There you go. That was a just him being active. Yep. There it is, that mid-range again. Yes, for sure. For sure we would scout that and talk about that. Yeah, nice job in transition. But yeah, everything's with the right hand. You know, I just really started to notice that everything here is from the right side and with the right hand. Really good awareness to make a cut there. All right. So what we have there is the ability to create a clip quickly, but not just of shooting. Let's take a look at at a rebounding clip. Let's actually start with that. Because one of the things that I noticed was that in terms of offensive rebounding, right? Chris Cook, a very good offensive rebounder. So let's start with that and let's click on that and it will go and find all of the offensive rebounds in 6 games. That would be about 27 by my estimation. Um, Offensive rebounds. Let's see, 28 clips. Yeah, just, stays active there. All right, next. Yep. Yep, just stays active. Yep. Yep. He had two there that he missed. But look, he just stays active, man. And I mean, that's Westchester, so he's competing with guys who are pretty good basketball players there. Stays active on the glass. Okay. So we have a bunch of offensive rebound clips. I'm gonna go and delete a few of these maybe because they're not like super relevant to me. But I get down to the list of offensive rebounds that I want to have in my playlist. I'm gonna go share that in a playlist and I'm gonna go call it Chris Cook highlights. Actually, I'm gonna call it number 11, Birmingham. I call it that. I'm gonna save it. And this only me and the admins can have access to view that right now. And we're not going to view this right now. In fact, we're going to exit back out. Because the next thing I want to do with Chris Cook is I want to take a look and see what other things does he do, right? Does he take charges? What what else does he do? Assists? Does he have turnovers? In fact, what I want to do is maybe take a look at his turnovers. When he turns the ball over, what's going on there? So here we can see it's actually he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. And he gets a fair number of steals. So this guy looks to be a pretty good basketball player. Let's take a look at his assists. He doesn't even foul that much. So now I could go in and pick out his assists, and he's going to have maybe 10 clips. And so we can take a look. And if we had more video, then we would have more assists that we could go choose from. All right. Good floor vision there. Doesn't look like he is maybe super comfortable with the ball in his hand, in his left hand. But he definitely has good floor vision. Okay. We're now going to share this in a playlist. We've decided on what clips we want. Oh, you know what? This one. You know what? This one. I don't think we want this one. We can come back and pick the player clips. And I can again save that as a restricted access playlist. All right. So we've seen a little bit of number 11, Chris Cook. We've taken a look at the shots that he's made. We've taken a look at his rebounds. We've taken a look at his assists. we're going to take a look at a little bit more of an extended scout, shall we say. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the shot chart. And we're going to look at this by athlete. And you can see we have number 11, Chris Cook here. And if I look at Chris Cook, he shoots, a fair number of threes. We remember from this Hudl report here, he's maybe not the greatest, but he's probably not well, he's not great. But it does appear that on the right hand side, he tends to make a little bit more than on the left hand side. And if we look at his 2-point baskets, it does appear that on the right hand side, he makes a little bit more than on the left hand side. So we can take a look at like his attempts from the left hand side, maybe his corner threes, and maybe we could try to understand, are these contested or are these open, or what's leading him to be one of 8 in that corner. Okay, 3-point miss. Oh, sorry, Meg. Okay. I mean, that's pretty open. A little bit of a contest, but I mean, that's a good shot. Okay. Okay, I mean, these are pretty good shots, to be honest with you. I mean, these look like the type of shots that yeah, shooters should be taking and making. And he's 1 for 8 there. Interesting. So what I want to do is take a look at some of the at the right hand side of some of his shots and see how that looks. So here he's 2 for 6. Here he's 2 for 5. Is he trying to finish left or right handed here? Let's take a look. Because if he's trying to finish these like right handed from the left hand side, then we're going to scout and say, oh, definitely take his right hand away. Okay, so we've seen that clip before. We've seen a few of these clips before. Westchester, we've seen. Okay, so that was a couple of putbacks that missed. Was a tip in that missed. I mean, pretty active inside, I'd say. But looks like if he gets challenged, then, maybe he struggles. But we definitely have to box him out. Definitely have to box him out. In transition. Missed again. Finally got one. Okay. So I like these. I like these shots. We're gonna share these. Um, in this playlist as well. Okay, so now I have enough stuff for my scout to support what I'm going to say about Chris Cook. And I have a pretty good understanding. I still probably am going to have to watch the games to understand like what happened in the flow of the game and like what were they running, right? We would clip plays as well as players. Um, but generally now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find playlists. And we can see here added in the last 7 days, 55 clips. So I can come in here. Let's watch a little bit of this to make sure it looks good. Maybe I want to move some stuff around. So in here, I can go in and I can do whatever I want to do. I can delete the clips. I can swap places. I can put in comments. I could diagram. If I don't want this one here, I can go delete it. So I can manage this whole playlist here. And I'm going to tell my players, hey guys, you need to go, you need to go and watch this on Hudl. And the reality is that a lot of guys, you know, downloading the app on your phone, watching the clip that coach has shared with you, they think it's a little bit of a hassle. I don't know. I think it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple, but I've got a way for you to share the clip with the player. If you come over into the clips itself and you go over into details, press on the ... email video download link. And for each playlist, I want the one video. I want the one video that's got all the clips in it, and it's going to download. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to go into my email. I'm going to be able to go in there. I'm going to be able to grab it, that link. Let's hope it's going to come through here real quick. Okay, here we go. And now I can go and copy this link. And I'm going to go and I'm going to text it to the team chat. And I just paste that link. And when I paste the link, it's going to take me directly to those play clips from the chat that I sent out. And so I don't have to have my players log in to Hudl. I can just have them access the clips through the chat. And I have found that they will actually watch the videos if I go and put them in the chat. But if they got to log into Hudl, they got to have that app on the phone. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Not really sure. But that's what they tell me anyway. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. It's been great talking to you, sharing some of my experiences with scouting for an opponent and how to use Hudl to create a quick, effective scouting report and then clips to support that. that you can distribute out to your team quickly and easily without having them to log into the Hudl app. Appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.